English, the weary hero king, lay on his deathbed, a shadow of his former self. Yet, amidst the twilight of his life, the goddess Elisa appeared, granting him a final wish. He wished to be reborn, to seize a new life as the mightiest swordsman of this world. But little did he know, his new journey would see him burdened with the care of his daughter-in-law, juggling responsibilities that left no time for honing his skills or growing stronger. After countless eras, the once great hero king was reborn as a mere infant, retaining his name yet faced with a shocking revelation. Gazing into the mirror, he was astounded to discover that he had been reincarnated as a girl without any warning. In this new world, Ea served as the source of all energy. Whoever mastered it would wield power rivaling that of the gods. With newfound determination, English began to explore the Ea within herself. As she floated in the air, English recalled how, in her past life, she had only scratched the surface of understanding Ea. Now reborn, she noticed no one else seemed to control it. Suddenly, a young man's voice pierced her thoughts. An ominous beast had appeared, urging everyone to take cover in the castle. English's mother, Serena, rushed into the room, anxious to evacuate, only to find her daughter suspended mid-air. Tears streamed down English's face as she tried to divert attention, and Serena, momentarily convinced it was just a trick of the light, scooped her daughter into her arms, soothing her. She assured English that her father and the adults would handle the monster. Just as the words left her lips, the beast crashed through the wall, sending Serena's sister tumbling against it, caught in a moment of misfortune alongside her child. While English's cousin Raphael faced the beast with a sword in hand, fear painted his face as the creature roared menacingly. Serena dashed to check on her sister, but with a swift motion, she entrusted her two children, English and Rafina, to Raphael, urging him to flee. Grabbing a sword, she resolved to confront the beast herself, calling out for Raphael to run. As she engaged the creature, her strikes proved ineffective, the sword barely scratching its surface. Raphael, placing English and Rafina behind a wall, told them to stay put, confident that even infants could grasp the gravity of the situation. With a courageous heart, he joined the fray, and English looked on, admiring Raphael's bravery, noting that true heroes are forged through will and action. But the monster unleashed its tail, destroying a pillar, sending both Serena and Raphael crashing into the wall, unconscious. As the beast advanced, English made a bold decision. She would no longer live for others, no longer a hero destined to save the world. She realized her true desire was to protect Raphael, who embodied the spirit of a hero. Channeling her ear, she concentrated, and when the beast roared at her, she unleashed a powerful attack, obliterating it with a surge of energy. Years passed, and English blossomed into a charming girl, admiring her reflection in the mirror and dreaming of the hearts she would capture in the future. Her cousin Rafina, affectionately nicknamed Rani, had also grown, now training with soldiers. Rani attempted to wield a wooden sword, but its weight sent her tumbling to the ground. English rushed to her side, seeing tears welling in Rani's eyes, and encouraged her to stand tall and swing the sword like the others. At that moment, Raphael, now 13, was also training hard. Hearing Rani call his name in encouragement, he felt a surge of motivation, ready to face any challenge that lay ahead. The young man was training fiercely for his next match, as Raphael approached him, cautioning, "You better not focus too much on your opponent." Raphael, ever the strategist, knew how to seize the moment against his rival. Their battle commenced, and Rafa initially held the upper hand. However, lost in the heat of combat, he charged headfirst into a wall, giving his opponent the chance to strike and claim victory. Rani felt a wave of disappointment wash over her, but English comforted her, promising to avenge Raphael. Rani stepped forward, eager to challenge him, but he dismissed her with a smirk, saying she was too weak to be his sparring partner. He told her to go back to playing with Barbie. Yet, English stepped closer, choosing to activate her magic to distract him. But the power coursing through English allowed her to spread her energy like wildfire. Confident, English decided to fight him using only the sword skills she honed from her past life, without relying on any magic. She felt it was crucial to teach this boy a lesson in humility by battling him with her eyes closed. Feeling embarrassed, he charged at her, but no matter where he attacked from, she could sense his movements and block every strike. In a swift counter, she landed a blow, leaving him to bitterly acknowledge his defeat with a self-satisfied grin. "Thank you for being my practice dummy," she teased, and the onlookers were left in awe, their jaws dropped. Yet deep down, English felt her skills were still lacking. A year later, Rani and English visited the church for a special ceremony. This was a rite to receive a jun and become a knight. Jun was the mark that allowed one to control what they referred to as artifacts, which existed in 4 tiers: special, high, medium, and low. The stronger the jun, the more powerful the artifact one could control. Rani stepped up first, placing her hand on the ceremonial box, and to her delight, she received a high-tiered jun. Her parents rejoiced at the news. English congratulated her, declaring she would become a fantastic knight. Now it was English's turn. Raphael hoped she would receive a special jun. She placed her hand on the box, but when she withdrew it, nothing appeared. The crowd was stunned. She had no jun at all. English realized the box was designed to convert mana into jun, a skill that people today had lost. However, this box allowed them to wield mana in the form of artifacts. Knowing she would inevitably be pressured to become a knight without a jun, English decided to harness her inner strength to block mana from the jun and become Rani's protector. 5 years later, both English and Rani had grown. English expressed her desire to go on adventures, but Rani found the idea too frightening for two girls. English envisioned summoning powerful beastly rains or a prism to help refine her skills. Rani questioned how English could be strong enough to defeat a beast without a jun. English simply replied, "That's a secret." When the rain finally stopped, the girls found themselves atop a castle as a landmass floated by, known as Halanda, home to the Halan people. These people crafted artifacts and ceremonial boxes, gifting them to the nations below for protection against beasts in exchange for abundant crops and materials. As the land passed overhead, English pondered the fate of the kingdom she ruled in her previous life. That night, they encountered Leon, who explained that the lowlands were viewed by the Halan as inferior races unable to protect their kingdoms without the artifacts provided to them. English added that this meant they held the strings of life for those below. Lion nodded in agreement, urging her to smile. When English and Rani entered the ballroom for the festival, they discussed the upcoming visit from the Halan and an inspector from the royal capital. Rani explained it was a routine inspection happening every 2 or 3 years, but this time, a Halan would attend. English speculated that the Halan might be plotting to overthrow the royal family and rule the people. However, she brushed this thought aside, chalking it up to her tendency to overthink, a habit from her past life. They met Rani's father, who introduced them to the royal inspector, Sione, the ambassador from Halan, who turned out to be Rad. The two girls were taken aback and expressed their respect, but English questioned why Rad had become the ambassador. He noticed their curiosity and demonstrated the Halan mark on his forehead. English asked if anyone could become Halan without being born there. Rad affirmed this, explaining that anyone who contributed significantly could be granted citizenship. English remained confused, and Rad explained that he had given many funds to the Halan, but he also needed connections to access higher-ups for transactions. He added that a Halan had more power than any noble in the lowlands. He noted that he heard English lacked a jun, and asked why she still bothered to fight. Lion, sensing the tension, introduced a special holy knight, a hero manan. The holy knights, known as hero manan, could transform into artifacts. However, English refused to meet her, knowing Rad sought revenge for the events 6 years prior. She had promised to face him again, but warned that he must not harm Rani or the Holy Knight. Rad agreed, saying he would confront her alone at the meeting point that night. Later, English visited a villa and encountered Eris, a hero Menon. Eris urged her to run away, worried for her safety, as she was Raphael's cousin. English refused, knowing Rad and the young man would do something worse if she didn't show up. Eris insisted she would handle Rad, but English needed to know if Eris intended to assassinate him. Eris reassured her not to worry and to go home, but English stood her ground. Eris threatened to attack English if she advanced, but English merely smiled, feeling time was running out. She saw this as an opportunity to test Eris's skills. While Eris hesitated, she launched a swift attack, forcing English to retreat home. English blocked the attack and tossed Eris aside. As Eris swung a dagger, English dodged effortlessly, commenting that she hadn't seen such speed from other knights. A hero named Eris urged English to run, worried for her safety since she was Raphael's cousin, but English refused, knowing Rat's stubbornness could make things worse if she stayed hidden. Eris promised to handle Rat, yet English demanded to know if Eris planned to assassinate him. Eris told English not to worry and to head home, but English stood her ground. Eris threatened to attack if English stepped forward. English just laughed, saying she didn't even have time to run. She saw this as the perfect chance to test Eris's skills. Eris hesitated but struck swiftly, trying to force English to retreat. English blocked the attack and threw Eris aside. Eris lunged with a dagger, but English effortlessly dodged every strike. English remarked she'd never seen such speed from other knights, though she sensed Eris was still holding back. Their swords clashed, and Eris asked why English was so giddy. English admitted she loved fighting someone truly strong. They exchanged blows, and Eris grew confused. Her attacks matched those of the Holy Knights, yet English blocked them flawlessly without any runes or artifacts. English pressed the attack, telling Eris to take the fight seriously. Eris complied, and her next strike shattered English's sword in two. She aimed for a final blow, but when she saw a cut on English's arm, she hesitated and stepped back. English wanted to continue, preparing to unleash mana. Eris asked if she was all right, but English sulked, asking if Eris thought she wasn't worthy to fight. Eris shook her head, but English feared her secret was exposed and asked if Eris could sense any mana. Eris, confused, said people from lower regions couldn't sense mana, but then admitted she could feel it faintly. English dropped her sword, summoned her ear, and transformed it into mana, releasing a brilliant glow that dazzled Eris. English thought if Eris could sense mana, she deserved to witness her true power. Eris wondered how English could control mana without any runes. English told her not to hold back in their fight anymore. Suddenly, a massive lightning bolt shot through English, slamming Eris into a tree. Eris guessed Leon was attacking and asked why he did that. Leon appeared, warning Eris she'd been discovered by him first. English noticed his metallic hands glowing ominously. She asked if his metallic hands crackling with electricity were his artifacts. "Are you betraying us now?" Eris inquired, her voice sharp with disbelief. Leon didn't deny it. He wanted to do whatever was necessary to prevent them from being slaughtered, giving him the chance to reach the Tulan. However, Eris suspected his true aim was to undermine the Tulan and steal their technology to spread it in the lower regions. Leon nodded, admitting that this way, they could protect themselves against the beasts without relying on the Highlanders. "Why would you betray them?" Eris pressed. Leon explained that the Highlanders had invited him to join them for some time now. "You can't defeat the Highlanders," she warned. "That's why I need you," he replied, expressing his desire to study the humans to help create artifacts for the lower lands. Eris refused, insisting it would only harm everyone. Turning to English, she echoed her rejection of his idea. In a tense standoff, Leon clasped his hands together, summoning a massive storm of lightning. Eris warned English to be cautious, as Leon possessed high-tier artifacts that could summon lightning beasts. Shadows of beasts began to take shape, though they were hard to see. English sensed at least 30 lurking among them. Leon commanded 2 beasts to follow him, while the others would attack English. Realizing Eris was injured, Leon aimed to keep her occupied while dealing with English. Just then, a beast charged at her, but she deftly dodged it. Meanwhile, Eris struck the beast, creating a blinding flash of light. "A powerful attack will cause the beast to explode," she explained. English encouraged her to use that in their next battle, but Eris declined, stating she wasn't consumed by a bloodlust like English. Leon smirked derisively at Eris, mocking her for using her special attack to assist English, knowing she could only use it a few times. English wanted to help Eris and decided to confront the beasts before her. Channeling her power through ear, she formed a protective layer around herself, striking the lightning beast to expel them. Eris thought English was being reckless, yet the lightning explosion didn't harm her. English continued to eliminate the lightning beasts, telling Eris that if she couldn't evade the explosions, she just needed to make herself strong enough for them not to affect her. "You're such an idiot," Eris exclaimed, trying to teach her to use ranged attacks against the lightning beasts instead of fighting up close. But English argued her approach was much faster. She could do this because ear condensed within her body, creating a wave that easily neutralized the explosive aftermath. She finished off the beasts and landed gracefully before Eris, apologizing for keeping her waiting. However, Leon had seen through the flaw in English's power. It couldn't last long due to her lack of stamina. English was impressed by the young man's sharp reasoning, and Leon suggested this battle would be. He was harnessing his endurance, channeling lightning into his arm, attempting to summon more lightning beasts, but English intervened, stepping in to halt his efforts. Lion stumbled back, making a frantic dash toward the mansion, only for English to catch up, gripping his arm. Suddenly Rani screamed and leaped through a window, pursued by a magicite monster. Lion smirked, as if he had predicted this all along. Rani was being chased by the beast, but English stepped in, delivering a powerful blow to the creature. It exploded upon impact, crashing to the ground, yet it rose again. Rani exclaimed that this creature was a magicite beast, screaming English's name, startling her. Lion approached, revealing he was the one who transformed Raz into a magicite beast. Eris asked why he did that, and Lion showed them a vial labeled prism powder. It was made from condensed prism flow he acquired from the steel bloodfront, and it had a potent effect on people. Eris inquired if there was a way to revert Raz back, but Lion coldly replied there was no way, because the young man deserved it. He then caused 2 lightning beasts to explode, allowing him to escape. Rani questioned why Lion betrayed them, and English promised to explain later, but for now, they had to face Raz. The young man had risen again, howling English's name. English sensed he was suffering, so she vowed to grant him peace without pain. Together, English and Eris unleashed a powerful kick, sending Raz crashing against the wall, yet he stood up again, roaring English's name once more. English leaped down, and Eris was astonished to see English gathering a mysterious power. She aimed to replicate the EER attack she had used as a child to see if she had grown stronger. English unleashed the EER attack, a blinding flash that shattered Raz into nothingness, and she collapsed to the ground. The next day, Eris informed Rani and English that she would report the entire incident as part of Leon's plan, and that he had collaborated with the Steel Blood Front. However, English demanded a favor. She wanted Eris to tell the council that she defeated the Magicite beast, not her. Eris agreed, but cautioned that English would owe her one this time, and English could repay her in 3 years. Rani and English were now preparing for their final training before heading to the Royal Knight Academy. Rani enhanced her bow artifact with Jun, firing an arrow that expanded into multiple projectiles. English dodged all of them as she sprinted toward Rani. Rani praised English for evading every arrow, even with her doubled firepower. English complimented Rani, stating her arrows were sharper than ever. Then they left their hometown, arriving at the capital where they visited the Aleman Cathedral. There, they marveled at a prism. English felt an exhilarating thrill, for it was an enormous beast encased in icy crystals, though it had already been defeated. Rani explained that it couldn't be moved, leading them to construct the cathedral to guard it. English noted that even though it was frozen, she could still sense its power, suggesting it might still be alive. A soldier approached them, warning Rani to disregard English's antics, as she was a bit reckless. The soldier urged them to stay in the cathedral because they had detected several Magicite beasts nearby. Excited, English was eager to rush out and defeat the Magicite creatures, telling Rani to stay put while she darted through the city. English declared that the surrounding Magicite beasts were due to the corpse of Bisma being kept in the city. She arrived at the town square, witnessing knights battling the Magicite monsters. She was taken aback by the scene when a Magicite beast soared toward her. Just as she readied to strike, a girl dashed past her, annihilating the beast in a single blow. This girl was Leo, who scolded English for inviting trouble with the Magicite creatures without any runes or artifacts. English was simply in awe of Leo's skills, curious about who she was. She noticed Leo wielded a high-level Jun. English reassured Leo she was fine, but Leo interrupted, telling her to step back as more Magicite beasts were approaching. Leo empowered her sword, obliterating 3 beasts with a fierce swing. She asked English if she was okay, as another Magicite beast was lurking behind her. English turned to see it, narrowly avoiding an icy attack. However, Leo swiftly plunged her sword into the ground, expanding it to block the attack, and then thrusting it forward to strike the beast, but it had already flown away. English offered her assistance, leaping over Leo and using her sword as a springboard in midair, kicking the Magicite beast down to the ground and signaling Leo to attack. Leo used her sword to finish off the falling Magicite beasts while English continued to kick them as they descended, with Leo providing support. After they had eliminated all the Magicite creatures, they both praised each other's skills. Leo apologized for jumping in to help, even though English hadn't needed it. They introduced themselves, and when English heard Leo's name, she tried to recall where she had heard it before. Leo extended her hand, suggesting it would be wonderful to collaborate, and English agreed as they continued to take down Magicite beasts. Rani also appeared, firing at a beast that almost attacked Leo from behind. She scolded English for abandoning her in the cathedral like she was some useless baggage. Afterward, they successfully defeated all the beasts. English introduced the two to each other, and Leo thanked Rani for protecting her throughout the battle. Leo asked Rani if she was Raphael's sister. Rani inquired if she knew her brother, and Leo mentioned she owed him quite a bit. A knight approached them, expressing gratitude for their protection of the city, and offering a reward. Rani was thrilled, but the knight clarified that the reward would only be given to Rani and English, not to Leo, the sister of a traitor. Rani firmly defended Leo, stating she had fought alongside them, but Leo insisted she should drop it. The knight explained that Leo was Lion's sister, warning them to keep their distance as people would begin to discriminate against them. However, Rani declined the reward on behalf of the group. Their conversation was interrupted as a flying motorcycle landed nearby. The young rider inquired if everything was all right, and the knight reassured Raphael not to worry, as it was just the sister of the traitor. Raphael urged the knight not to refer to Leo that way, as she had helped them deal with the beasts. Rani and English stared at Raphael, and Rani joyfully ran over to embrace her brother. English greeted Raphael, but he remained silent, blushing as he remarked that English had grown up to be quite beautiful. Leon's sister was among the knights, who warned others to avoid Leon, fearing prejudice would spread. Yet Rani refused any reward, speaking for the group. Their conversation was cut short as a flying vehicle landed nearby. A young man driving asked if there was trouble. The knights reassured Raphael not to worry, it was just the sister of a traitor. Raphael told the knights to stop calling Leon's sister that. He reminded them she had helped them fight the magical beasts. Rani and English stared at Raphael, and Rani happily ran to hug her brother. English greeted Raphael, but he was left speechless and blushed, saying English had grown more beautiful. Wait, these two are related, he wondered aloud. The girl with him was Ripple, from a beast race. English interrupted, noting Raphael rarely gave compliments and teased him for being so quiet and unfriendly. Raphael introduced Ripple to his siblings, explaining she was, like Eris, a hero man. English wondered if Ripple was strong enough to be her rival. Rani asked why they had come and if they knew Leon. Raphael confirmed and then turned back towards the Prism Church. Bound by ropes tethered to flying vehicles, the knights used these airborne chariots to carry the prism away from the cathedral. Raphael explained their belief that the frozen prism was a beacon, drawing magicide beasts toward the city. So, they moved it far away to prevent these creatures from invading again. Raphael, Ripple, and their companions departed on their flying mounts. Meanwhile, the Starleaf Sisterhood stayed aboard an airship heading to the capital. Seeing the prism being taken away, English hoped it would awaken soon, ready for a spectacular battle. The airship carried them to the royal capital on the day of their enrollment. All students were warmly welcomed by the shy and reserved headmistress, Mirella surprising the sisterhood with the unexpected gentleness of this introverted leader. Mirella instructed them to warm up a bit. With a swift motion of her staff, an earthquake trembled beneath them, elevating the platform where the students stood. "Welcome to the Knight's course," Mirella declared, informing them that artifacts were off-limits. She raised her staff once more and cast a gravity spell, nearly toppling the students. "This is the gravity school," she explained, a method to prepare them for combat, as she wished to ensure none of her students would perish on the battlefield. The training would push them to their limits, preparing them for victory in every battle. Suddenly, 3 massive mechanical bugs emerged from the platform, and Mirella announced it was a game of tag, commanding them to begin. The students struggled under the weight of the gravity, attempting to fend off the robotic foes, their faces a mix of shock and determination. Yet, Mirella reassured them that this was merely a warm-up. She resurrected the mechanical bugs, which this time targeted the other students, causing chaos as they were thrown from the platform. Mirella announced they had only 60 seconds left, and to heighten the challenge, she increased the gravitational pull. Rani complained, unable to move, while Leo echoed her frustration as a bug hurled them off the platform. One by one, students were tossed aside until only one remained, of course. It was English, now surrounded by the robotic menace. But in a surprising twist, she leapt into action, causing the bugs to collide with each other in a spectacular display of chaos. With a powerful kick, she sent one flying away, emerging as the sole victor. Mirella looked on, astonished by English's strength, wondering whose child this powerhouse was, completely captivated by her prowess. Afterward, Mirella guided everyone to another training area, announcing a special introductory exam. The newly appointed headmistress Mirella commanded attention as she shook the wide-eyed students with awe after witnessing English's power. They all wondered what kind of lineage could produce such a prodigy. Even Mirella found herself enchanted by English's prowess. Then, Mirella led them to a training area and announced a special introductory test. She called for Rani, Liz, Lottie, Leo, and Plum, informing them they were selected for the night course. Next, Mirella called English forward, revealing she was the recommended candidate for the Sky course. The test itself was simple. They would be sent somewhere and had to return before the deadline. English asked where she would be sent, and Mirella explained that it was another dimension, a challenge maze created by her artifact. With a sly smile, Mirella explained the maze would test not just their strength but also their intelligence. She struck her staff on the ground, and numerous doors appeared. "Choose a door," she said, "and step through. Behind each door lies a trial tailored to you." Each girl stood before a door as Mirella started the timer, signaling the beginning of their challenge. English stepped forward. The door opened into dimness, but soon red light flooded the area. A spectral beast appeared, but just as English prepared to strike, it vanished. Turning left, she spotted a cloaked youth and a girl holding a staff. Suddenly, 2 more phantoms materialized, a female beast and a fierce foe to her right. There stood Eris and Leo. All were illusions of opponents English had faced before. She smiled brightly, thrilled by the perfect training scenario. Yet, when she tried to chase them, they vanished once more. Suddenly, she heard Rani's voice calling her. Turning back, she saw young Rani with Raphael, both just 13. Approaching them, she glimpsed her own parents on the other side. Was this a memory from her childhood? She concluded she was merely reliving fragments of her past, and pressed on. The beast she had once defeated as a child reappeared, but vanished as swiftly as it had come. Continuing forward, She pondered whether these memories were meant to awaken her childhood emotions. She glimpsed her subordinates from a past life surrounding her hospital bed. They disappeared before she could move on. Before she could take another step, a familiar voice called out, "Your Majesty." She turned to see a figure bowing Rand, her predecessor from a past life. English asked him why the world had become a place where people looked down upon each other after her death. Suddenly, Rand drew his sword, and English realized he had no answer for her. He lunged at her, but she dodged his every attack with astonishing speed. Using her fingertip, she caught his sword, acknowledging that, if she continued forward, the goddess Elisa would surely appear. She spoke, "Although Muriel said this test exists only in my mind, I'm not fond of this turn of events." With a swift kick, she sent Rand into the void, deciding to break free. She raised her hand and unleashed a powerful blast, shattering layers of glass above her. Lotte peeked through the gap, bewildered by what had just transpired. English realized all dimensions were interconnected. Lotte asked her if she had created the rift, to which English nodded, affirming she didn't wish to proceed any further. Then, she leaped into the dimensional rift. Lotte inquired if they could go together, and Lotte summoned wings to her back, soaring into the next realm with English in tow. They emerged from a student council door, greeted by cheers for the three of them, while Principal Muriel congratulated them on their success. At that moment, Rani appeared from another door, seemingly having succeeded as well. Muriel led them to her office, announcing that Ambassador Highland wished to invite Rani and English to a ceremony in a few days. Leo and Lotte waited for Rani to prepare English. Both were taken aback when they saw English in a dress, with Lotte remarking how perfectly it suited her. They headed to the hall for the ceremony, where Raphael encouraged them to enjoy the feast. Just as they were about to indulge, a barrier unexpectedly formed from the ceiling, and monsters descended, causing havoc throughout the hall. Raphael struck down a beast, while English annihilated them with precise attacks to their heads. More Magi monsters continued to swarm, but English dispatched them effortlessly with her E-attack. The sisters had nothing left to showcase, as English claimed the spotlight single-handedly. They didn't mind, for she was enjoying herself, and all the beasts were vanquished. The next day, a young man named Theodo handed Leo a special artifact sword. Muriel shared with everyone that during the Magicide beast assault, she had considered jumping to another dimension rather than creating a protective barrier, prompting her to ask Theodo for help. Theodo revealed that the sword could transport everyone to another dimension, and given their magical prowess, Leo would wield it best. Leo decided to give it a try. As she concentrated, the sword glowed brightly. Suddenly, the entire room darkened, and they found themselves in a labyrinth-like challenge. English turned to Ripple and declared, "It's time to fight." She aimed to punch Ripple, but Ripple was quicker, retaliating with a swift punch. English continued her assault, but Ripple effortlessly dodged. Then, Ripple opted to use a gun instead of punches, aiming it at English while announcing it was her artifact. English dodged every bullet, conjuring a magical ice sword to block Ripple's attacks. As she pondered how to close the gap, English realized Ripple was adept at maintaining her distance, yet she was determined to win at any cost. She took a few more steps closer to Ripple, but Ripple unexpectedly summoned another gun and shot at English. Although she dodged most of the bullets, one struck her shoulder. English continued to block the incoming shots, contemplating waiting for Ripple to run out of ammo, but soon realized her own stamina might give out first. Noticing Ripple wasn't moving much, she surmised it was due to fighting in Ripple's domain, thus she decided to sidestep, making herself a smaller target. Just as she thought, the bullets followed a single path. English countered back towards Ripple, catching her off guard. Ripple attempted to shoot more bullets, but she could only block two. By the third bullet, she had to evade. Now, English had Ripple cornered. She wanted English to charge at her, sending her flying. Luckily, Muriel caught her mid-air to prevent a dreadful fate. Ripple complimented English on her clever tactics. English thanked Muriel for catching her, but Muriel humbly stated she hadn't done anything. She tried to erect a barrier to protect them from Ripple's fall, but when Ripple collided with it, it vanished as if drained away. English wanted to continue fighting, but Theodo wanted to check if Ripple was the one absorbing mana. He instructed Lotte to summon her wings. Afterward, he asked Ripple to touch the wings, but nothing happened. Then he told Muriel to use Lotte's artifact. Muriel summoned wings for herself, but when Ripple touched them, they vanished. It seemed Ripple had absorbed mana from them. Muriel explained that Ripple was a hero Manon, able to gain power from a special June level of a holy knight. Theodo added that Ripple's ability to transform into weapons was abnormal, and it automatically absorbed mana. Upon accumulating enough mana, it would summon a magicite beast. Suddenly, Ripple collapsed, and a barrier formed around her. She apologized to English and asked her to look after the others. English and Rani failed to react in time, but Leo added that Ripple had reached her limit, causing the dimension to fade and return them to the office. At that moment, a massive magicite beast crashed through the walls of the building. English quickly warned Rani to stay safe as the beast was about to unleash a torrent of energy from its maw. However, English activated her E-shield, launching herself beneath the beast's jaw. She struck, halting the beast's attack and sending it soaring through the air. The girls quickly warned another student, Dua, who was standing right where the creature was about to land. Yet, with a swift motion, Dua effortlessly sliced the falling beast in half with nothing but her bare hands before turning away, as if nothing had ever happened. Ran stood in shock, awestruck by Dua's overwhelming power, while English pondered the stark differences in their abilities. Although English had managed to injure the beast with her kick, Dua's simple chop had eliminated it with ease. She felt exhilaration at the prospect of a worthy rival in Dua. English's powerful kick wounded the beast, but Dua effortlessly ended it with a single slash. Excited by this formidable opponent, English felt a surge of adrenaline as Dua appeared. They returned to check on Ripple, who was unconscious. Rani wondered if any other beasts might show up, but Theodore denied it, explaining Ripple only summons beasts when absorbing mana from a host of special level called Jun. English added that this wouldn't happen again until Ripple's mana was fully restored. Leo asked why these summoned beasts were often anthropomorphic. Theodore speculated it might be because Ripple herself is an anthropomorphic beast. Morella explained that such beings have a heightened sixth sense, allowing telepathic communication, meaning Ripple can call others through this psychic link. Theodore continued, explaining the creation of a hero menon anthropomorphic beast might be why the Dutch made Ripple. Rani felt sorrow for Ripple's tragic, soap opera-like fate, realizing she was born solely for this purpose. Theodore explained that the Dutch did not view the lower class as equals, which led to the creation of hero menons like Ripple. As Ripple awoke, she revealed this was a chance to bring those transformed into magicite beasts to their final rest. Rani promised Ripple they would never let magicite beasts harm anyone again. Ripple thanked her friends for their support. Morella instructed Theodore to create a new artifact for Rani like a shining bow but with 2 special effects. Morella revealed the second effect could heal wounds. Both Rani and English were amazed, unaware such an artifact even existed. Morella said these were rare and precious, which is why Theodore wanted Rani to have it. He left a message urging Rani to protect Ripple well. Rani vowed to safeguard everyone. Suddenly, a loud noise and thick smoke appeared outside. They rushed to investigate and found upperclassmen fighting to extinguish a fire. A magicite beast lay on the ground. Morella asked what happened, and a student explained Ripple's power had spiraled out of control again. The beast was sent to another dimension, but some students were injured. They saw Schwa, a student wounded in battle, who urged them to expel Ripple. Morella told the young man not to be harsh and insisted they should treat Schwa's wounds first. With the new artifact, Rani decided to try healing Schwa. English cheered her on, believing in Rani's ability. Taking a deep breath, Rani activated the artifact, channeling energy through her body until her hands glowed. She placed her hands on Schwa, and his wounds began to heal automatically, but the process wasn't over yet.
English knew the healing required a massive amount of mana and offered to help. Though difficult to copy healing magic, English tried combining mana with Rani's. Together, with English's support, Rani completed the healing. Morella thanked them both and instructed others to take Schwa to the infirmary for rest. The next day, English and Rani visited Morella's office for their turn to protect. English asked why Morella seemed downhearted. Morella revealed that the Royal Guard planned to take over Ripple's protection, intending to return her to Haan to create a new hero menon. Rani vehemently rejected this cruel plan, insisting Ripple's illness didn't justify treating her like a mere tool. Morella assured them the Academy would continue to protect Ripple. Ripple worried that confronting the Royal Guard would drag everyone into trouble, but Morella comforted her, reminding that they had the right to choose to protect her. Rani and English agreed and urged Ripple to let them be her shield. Later, Liz, Lotta, and Leo were on guard duty in the rain. Leo noticed Lotta looked pale and asked if it was her time of the month. Lotta just said, "Ripple is worried that confronting the Royal Guard will get everyone into trouble. However, Muriel reassures her that they have the right to choose to protect her. Rani and English also agree and tell Ripple to allow them to protect her. Meanwhile, Lotta and Leo are on duty, guarding under the rain. Leo notices Lotta looks a bit pale and asks her if she's gotten her strawberries yet. Lotta simply replies that now is not the time. Leo agrees, as they are on guard duty in the rain. Suddenly, a monster sneaks up behind them. Leo charges to attack, but the creature is struck by a lightning beast. As the smoke clears, Leo realizes that the lightning beast belongs to her brother. She and Lotta decide to chase after it through an underground passage. While exploring, they find Leon waiting for them. Leo is startled, but her brother isn't the only one there. Caesar, a hero Menon like Eris, and Blackmart, the leader of the Steel Blood Front, are also present. Leo fights Leon, stating that she always fights for those left in Alamein. Despite losing her parents, she will not forgive him for what he has done. However, Leon blocks her attack with his sword, telling her to listen to Blackmart first. Blackmart reveals his plan to attack and take down the second ambassador, as the only ones oppressing the lowlands are the two Lam. Before leaving, Blackmart advises her to capitalize on their attack if they want to do something. Leo, frustrated, tells Lotta they should return and inform everyone about Blackmart's plan. Another issue is that they are dealing with the Royal Guard. Their plan was to strike and take down the two ambassadors, the only dual-ranked warriors of Highland, oppressing the lowlands before departing Blackmart. They urged her to seize the opportunity if they intended to act. Leo, frustrated, told Lotta they should retreat. They informed everyone of Blackmart's scheme. Yet another problem arose. They were up against the Royal Guard. Schwa insisted something had to be done. English proposed an idea. Muriel found it clever, but Schwa thought it reckless. Rani backed English, whispering that going against the majority was her usual move, and she was often right. Despite their differing views, they all chose to trust English and decided to carry out her plan. Muriel added she would take action first, 4 days ahead of English and Rani. English and Rani donned maid outfits, leaving Schwa utterly bewildered. Muriel explained they'd infiltrate the palace as part-time servants. English added she planned to defeat the Steel Blood Front when they launched their attack. Schwa warned them not to get carried away, but to focus solely on protecting His Majesty and the Highland ambassadors. That very night, they successfully slipped into the lively banquet, pushing a food cart. The party was in full swing, and King Kalias had appeared, warmly greeted by all. English and Rani noticed the king held a unique rank. Rani thought guarding him would be easy. This old man wasn't just a figurehead. But English disagreed, explaining that if the king was serious about his duty to the nation, he wouldn't have time to train or even know how to wield a rune. The Highland ambassador was a brat with a face begging for a punch, named Evil, also a lord of Highland. Evil planned to bring hero Menon back to develop their country, but openly scorned others. The king mentioned an exchange involving Ripple, but Evil burst out laughing, mocking the idea of trading a defective item just for a city. The king smiled, admitting he was foolish, yet still grateful for Highland's help. Suddenly, a beast crashed into the hall, causing chaos. Rani told English to prepare, but she took to the air to fight the phantom beast. Knights gaped, wondering who this girl was, and English simply replied she was a maid cleaning the house, and while at it she'd tidy up these phantom beasts too. Rani readied her bow, and just as English told her to finish off the last magicite phantom beast, one nearly attacked her from behind. Evil shot it down with a mysterious black light. English was stunned and curious about the attack. Knights patrolled the hall to prevent further trouble. Suddenly, one sneaky knight tried to stab Evil with a knife, but English stepped in to stop him. Evil shrugged off the concern, telling English not to interfere. These knights were nothing but minnows to him. English smirked, and Ivel called her ignorant before unleashing black light from his fingers, shredding the knight to pieces. Everyone recoiled in horror, but English only grew more curious. Rani rushed over, worried about English. Ivel praised English's bravery, but Rani disliked how Ivel treated the knights. She scolded him, asking how he could live like that. Evil fired back, asking if letting guests get assassinated was a way to live. The king begged him, saying this wasn't their plan and blamed the Steel Blood Front. But Evil didn't believe it. He told the king that if it were truly the Steel Blood Front, he'd have made a grave mistake by allowing it to happen again. The precious ambassador of Highland was attacked, and the king bowed his head, begging for mercy and promising to accept any punishment. Ivel said an apology only holds meaning when both sides stand equal. He declared there's a vast gulf between an ordinary Highland and a king. After all, the king is nothing more than a leader of those from the lowlands, whom the Highlands see as mere cattle. Without hesitation, Ivel severed one of the king's arms to restore justice. English and Rani immediately rushed to the king's side, grasping the severed arm and healing it with Rani's power. Ivel asked what they were doing, and English explained they were treating the king's wound. Evel shrugged it off, but warned English that in return he would cut off someone else's arm here. The king said he didn't need treatment, but English stood holding out her arm, eager to experience Evil's power.
Evel scoffed, claiming an arm like hers was worthless, trembling and weak, but seeing her smile through the pain amused him. English calmly approached, recognizing the boy's power bold and layered like waves. Evel activated his strength to cut off her arm, but of course, nothing happened. The knights around were baffled, wondering why his strike had no effect on her. English was slightly worried because she wanted to keep her power hidden from Ivel, but her E-shell automatically activated. She was impressed by Ivel's strength, but annoyed that he tore her maid outfit to shreds. Ivel was still shaken, unable to utter a word. English stepped closer, praising his skills, which made Ivel so mad he tried to attack with both hands, but neither could pierce her E-shell. Everyone around questioned if Evel was truly as strong as they thought. English suspected his power wasn't ordinary mana, but something far stronger. Frustrated, Evel stepped back and told English that his power was called refined mana, and a lowlander like her could never block it. English coolly told Ivel that if he kept improving, his power might catch up to Elam. Evel was confused and wanted to know who English was. He tried a stronger attack, but it still couldn't harm her. English replied with a wide grin. "I'm just a maid who loves to bully kids." Ivel erupted with rage, ready to stab her heart, but again his power failed to work. English grabbed Evel's arm, pulling him while laughing and teasing him. She apologized in a mock-sweet voice and dared him to keep trying to cut off her arm. Ivel demanded she reveal her true identity, insisting she couldn't be just a mere maid. English kept teasing, claiming she was only allowed to touch Ambassador Hahn if Ivel permitted it. Ivel called the king a fool and boasted that as a Halen lord, he didn't come here to bring back Hero Menon or fix political ties. He only came to warn their leader, who was angry that the king's nation would soon be wiped out. The king asked why Ivel had the nerve to show up then. Ivel smiled slyly, just as a thunderous sound erupted outside. Realizing she would continue to jest, Ivel urged her to show her strength and attack. "You go first," English retorted, mocking him for demanding her hand in exchange for the king's crested. "I'm not interested anymore," he replied, suggesting that if she wanted to fight, she should do it decisively. English expressed her eagerness for battle, but the king interrupted, stating she must not lay a hand on the ambassador. Ivel called the king a fool, boasting that as the Lord of Halen he was not there to retrieve Hero Menon or to improve political relations. He was simply warning them that their leader was furious, and that the king's country would soon face obliteration. An armored battleship appeared, poised to attack the palace. English guessed it might be a warship from the Steel Blade Front, but Ivel chuckled and said the trap was already set. He explained that the Steel Blade Front, an anti-Halan group, had caused endless trouble. The Halan used this fake feast to lure Steel Blade Front out, and Evil, as a lord, was here to show his hand. The king realized the Halan already knew about Steel Blade Front. Evil said the feast was a lie. Their real goal was to bait Steel Blade Front into a crushing ambush. Outside, Kingdom Knights attacked the Steel Blade Front's ship. Inside, the knights questioned why Evil treated the king so harshly. Evil coolly said it was because the king was useless, and he simply didn't like him, nothing more. The knights closed in, ready to take Ivel down. English jumped in with a smile, declaring Ivel a traitor who cut off the king's arm. Ivel agreed, and English turned to the king, asking permission to capture the criminal. The king ordered her not to kill Ivel, but to arrest him. English told Ivel they could fight now, since the situation had changed. Ivel was excited for the battle, and promised to end it quickly because he had other business. English activated her ear shield and attacked Ivel using ear power. Ivel observed the magic surrounding her, curious since he'd never seen anything like it. He formed a barrier around himself and challenged English to come at him without hesitation. English explained that Ivel's magic could erase anything. Ivel was startled she knew about his barrier and wondered if she could see it. English revealed she was aware Ivel had created magic around himself but told him to focus all his power on one point, that's where she would strike. Ivel scoffed, saying he wasn't dumb enough to follow his opponent's advice. He thought if he did, she'd just attack somewhere else. English said if she wanted to, she already would have. She told him to stop acting like a weakling, which made him angry. Reluctantly following her advice, Ivel concentrated all his power into a single point. Ivel challenged English to stop being cowardly and charged straight at him. English darted forward, delivering a powerful ear-charged kick that shattered the boy's barrier. Then she followed up with another kick that sent Ivel flying out of the castle. Startled, English realized she had gone a bit too far and grabbed Janny to leave the castle and face the chaos outside. Using flying carts as stepping stones, she leapt onto a higher wall, gaining a better view of the Steel Blade Front's battleship. She launched an ear attack at it, but suddenly another ear strike countered her. The Steel Blade Front's Black M punched, but English dodged and kicked him in the face. Black M declared he wasn't done yet and challenged her to use his signature move. Suddenly, English sensed a different kind of ear knot, the usual ear shell. Black M launched a ranged attack, forcing English to jump back to avoid the hit. She realized it was an ear sword. Blackmart decided to confront her, leaping down to meet her. He complimented her boldness, asking where Ambassador Hland was. English, not knowing either, shot back with a kick that sent the young man flying far away. Blackmart conceded her strength, but English wasn't quite sure herself. She was eager to test just how powerful she had become. Both of them enhanced their abilities and charged at one another, unleashing a flurry of punches and kicks that echoed with their fierce resolve. Amidst their clash, English felt the immense force of BM through their exchange. Meanwhile, Rani was busy using her bow to take down the warship. English aimed a punch at Blackmart, but he dodged and attempted to grab her from behind. Swiftly, she evaded him, landing a kick to his face. Blackmart warned her that he wasn't finished yet, and challenged her to unleash her signature move. Suddenly, English sensed a different energy, not like the usual ear but something more sinister. English knew Black M had condensed ear into a blade. She thought she could do the same, but noticed Black M was enveloping his entire body in an ear shell, a feat she couldn't manage simultaneously. Black M charged at English. Unable to block his ear sword, she focused on dodging every strike. She searched for a way to close the distance and get closer. Even with her E-shell, being hit by the ear sword could seriously injure her. Determined, she drew her own E-sword to parry Black M's assault. He mocked her, saying her weak sword couldn't cut a single hair on him. But that wasn't her plan. She only wanted to slow down his attacks to find an opening. Her true goal was to wear him down, to break through his defenses and strike when the moment was right. This battle was more than just physicalit. It was a dance of wills. a test of who could outlast the other in a storm of refined manner and unyielding spirit. Black Mart dared to shatter her sword, but she seized that fleeting moment to shove him away. Taking advantage of the opening, she launched a fierce strike. He staggered, but still managed to block her attack. Black Mart realized everything was slipping beyond his control. Suddenly, Rani swooped down toward them on a flying vehicle, shouting a warning. "English! Be careful, something is coming right behind." Evel descended from the sky. English breathed a silent sigh of relief she wouldn't have to face the old king alone. Evel turned to Bakmum, telling him he would defeat the enemy and punish his own comrades. Just then, Caesar appeared on a flying vehicle. Black Mart begged for her power, and she agreed, transforming and bestowing strength upon him. English was thrilled this was her first time witnessing a hero's transformation. Evel tried to intervene, but a blinding light stopped him in his tracks. When it faded, Black Mart wielded Caesar's Wapona radiant spear shimmering like a rainbow. As Black Mart prepared to strike, Ivel conjured a barrier, confidently asserting the spear would vanish if it touched it. But Black Mart passed right through the barrier, lightly stabbing Ivel's shoulder. Suddenly, that part of Evel's body disappeared with the touch. Black Mart continued, piercing multiple holes into Evel's body, vaporizing him within seconds. Rani was terrified witnessing this, and asked English what she planned to do. Yet English stayed calm and rational, deciding to retreat temporarily. Meanwhile, Siva rushed toward Mirella and the other students, revealing that the knights assigned to escort Rippo had returned to the castle. Mirella saw her chance and signaled Leo to begin their plan. Leo used his sword to open a portal to another dimension within. They decided to let Rippo absorb their power to summon the magical beast Magis. Rippo absorbed the strength of Siva and Mirella, wishing them luck before collapsing. Siva guided the others to form a circle around Rippo. One by one the Magis beasts appeared, and the students fought fiercely to defeat them. Suddenly, Lottie lost her wings and was about to be attacked, but Io arrived just in time to save her. More beasts appeared, but Io had reached his limit, and the dimension vanished, returning them to the real world. Just as the Magis beasts neared, the lightning beast struck, obliterating the Magis beasts. Lion revealed himself, stating he had much to say but would help them first. He threw a sphere into their midst, dispersing it. He explained it was mana mist that would restore their energy. Lion instructed Leo to take them back to the spatial realm, and he obeyed. Along with Mirella and Siva, they replenished Rippo's mana. The spatial realm exploded, defeating many enemies, and Rippo summoned a colossal magic beast. Everyone readied themselves to battle the giant magic beast known as Prism. Mirella guided Leo, Liss, and Lotte to evacuate the unconscious. Lion charged the artifact to aid the fight. Mirella instructed Rua to keep Prism busy while she set up a barrier on the field. Dua confessed she was scared but was scolded by Mirella. Tiptoeing toward Prism, Dua whispered to herself, "If I don't see it, it won't see me." But the beast tracked every movement of the timid girl. Prism attacked, and Dua dashed to save her own skin. Lion charged in with a powerful strike against Prism. Dua threw a punch, earning praise from Leone said it resembled English's punch. But Dua sensed something was wrong. Her punch had no effect. Suddenly, she sank and was sucked into Prism's body. Mirella quickly erected a protective wall to shield them from the beast's deadly grasp. Lion shielded her from within the monstrous Lion, channeling energy through his artifact to strike back with a lightning bolt. But Prism unleashed a scorching beam aimed at Lotte and Leo, who were escorting the unconscious students. Just in time, Leon soared to block the attack with his artifact. The explosion shattered Leon's artifact, and Leo's worry for his brother grew. "Are you all right?" he asked. Leon assured him, "I'm still standing, but now I have no artifact left to fight." Dua was trapped inside Prism, but Muriel urged them not to despair, explaining her barrier was preventing Dua from being absorbed. She then asked Shvar about Ripple's condition. Shvar informed them Ripple could no longer absorb mana from him. Muriel realized this must be the last beast they needed to defeat. Shvar wondered if Ripple would awaken in time to help, but Leo shook his head. Ripple wouldn't be able to wield his full power in this half-alive state. Muriel added that Prism had yet to reach its full form, so stopping it now was critical. Prism readied another fiery explosion. Muriel ordered Leo to escort the others to another dimension while she stayed behind, assuring them she'd find a way. Leo opened the portal to the other dimension. Muriel told Lion to protect himself, but Lion told them not to worry as they prepared to block Prism's attack. Still, it wasn't enough. Luckily, English arrived, kicking Prism high into the sky, but it didn't soar like a rocket just landed, ready to fire again. English braced herself, but the heat beams split into multiple streams heading toward the city. Using her speed, she unleashed a One-Punch Man-style strike to blast the beams away from the city. Even those below couldn't see her movements. English and another landed, her excitement palpable finally facing prison.